It all started on a Thursday, when Samuel Ortega bent over a bank of consoles in mission control at the manned spacecraft center in Houston and saw a blip that did not belong to any instrument he had ever trusted. It was July 17, 1975, the day Apollo and Soyuz were scheduled to dock over the Pacific. The Apollo-Soyuz Test Project was a headline of détente Thomas Stafford and Deke Slayton on one side, Alexei Leonov and Valery Kubasov on the other, and two superpowers watching. Files released under FOIA decades later carry bland labels Anomaly Report 7507-17037. But the margins contain handwriting that reads like a human confession. Samuel, 29, a flight dynamics officer from San Antonio, monitored the telemetry feed. His station sat beneath a banner proclaiming, "Houston, we have a problem," in mockery from earlier missions. At the same moment in Korolev, a communications officer named Anya Kuznetsova, 26, was listening to the Soyuz interim loop from the Soviet Flight Control Center. The two consoles, separated by 15 time zones and mutual distrust, registered a pattern of cross-modulation brief, fractal bursts that matched neither radio noise nor any known hardware oscillation. Mission transcripts show it as a curiosity. Internal memos, long redacted, show it as a security concern. The declassified addendum reveals what neither government wanted in plain cables: a persistent, structured waveform that appeared to carry images and impressions rather than data. Those who later testified said it felt momentarily like looking at someone else's memory. Samuel recorded, in the early minutes of the anomaly, image: a woman on a balcony, river below, music. Familiar, no, like a child's memory. Anya's contemporaneous note, translated and archived in the Russian State Archive, reads, "Man in white jacket, grandfather's watch, smell of lemon oil. He knows the tune. He does not speak Russian. He is not noisy. He's afraid." No protocol existed for a signal that behaved like recognition. Engineers argued until Stafford ordered silence. Proceed with docking. The spacecraft linked mechanically as planned. In the room where geopolitics had always been ritualized, two strangers were linking through something poorer than radio and richer than language. That night, Samuel and Anya kept their stations open beyond shifts. They learned, bit by bit, to send small tokens through the anomaly, a fragment of a soap opera melody. The cadence of a childhood lullaby, the smell of baking bread translated into a vibration pattern. The waveform answered in kind. They found that names could ride on it if one spoke slowly and with feeling. Samuel, he wrote later, in a sealed letter, was the first English word she let me keep. Anya was the first Russian I heard like home. Their liaison could have been dismissed as stress, as crosstalk between strained vacuum tubes. Instead, it persisted for hours, then nights. Long after the crews had celebrated and the world had seen pictures of smiling astronauts greeting smiling cosmonauts. In the classified minutes, controllers debated whether the signal was a natural resonance excited by the coupling of two metallic holes through Earth's magnetosphere, or a new kind of interference born of human attention, focused in the right way. No definitive conclusion was recorded. Privacy and peril followed. Diplomatic pouches began to carry small, handwritten notes between Moscow and Houston, ostensibly test reports but in truth recipe fragments. Song lyrics and directions to meet in a place where neither flag mattered, Vienna, neutral, with cheap hotels and cheap coffee. They met in 1976. They married quietly in 1978 in Madrid, under a name that appeared nowhere in mission logs. The romance threaded through history, détente decayed, Cold War ebbed and flowed, and Samuel and Anya navigated visas and suspicion with the practiced patience of people who had once shared a mind for a night. The anomaly itself never repeated in any controlled test. Physicists who later examined the archived waveforms debated quantum metaphors and dismissed them as poetic. Engineers called it an electromagnetic curiosity. But for Samuel and Anya, it was provenance. In a 2005 declassification release, a folder of letters and taped recordings, surface translations of lullabies, train whistles, a failed Soviet pop song, a Tex-Mex ballad that told the story of two people who had fallen in love, not through code words and cables, but through a strange, brief permission to be intimate. Across enemy lines, documentarians would later call it a miracle or a glitch. Historians would point to diplomatic necessity. The surviving pages in the National Archives and the Russian State Archive do not decide. They do, however, preserve a human detail. In the typed cover sheet of one folder, in a hand smudged as if written mid-sentence, someone had added, "Keep it." In the end, politics archived the anomaly. People archived each other. The Apollo-Soyuz liaison remains cataloged today as both an engineering footnote and a private love story, a reminder that even amid metal and geopolitics, the hardest thing to explain is how the human hearts found each other in the static.